Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's Active Aussie here, Friday afternoon. It's about 1:45. I'm at Wilcox Park here in Brisbane. I was just listening to more of a video by Ohio Dan. I started listening to it earlier this morning, and I think the title is on men being sent their own way, and I feel this latest video by Dan is excellent. He always makes good content, good material, but this video in particular I feel is very relevant at the current time. Ohio Dan and also MGTOW Infinium have been making some really brilliant content recently, so I encourage you guys out there, especially younger men, to listen to those types of videos. I just want to give my take on this so-called MSTOW, or men being sent their own way, and this is my take on it as, you could say, an older man in his mid-50s. Since I started this channel quite a few years ago now, occasionally a comment will be left and someone will call me an incel or a MSTOW. You're not really a MGTOW, you're a MSTOW, and you can't attract a woman and you're just sad and bitter. You're a bitter man, and you're just a loser, etc., etc. And these types of shaming tactics and shaming language, it has been levelled at a lot of guys within our community. And I think to some extent there could be, I've said this before, there can be a crossover sometimes between incels and the red pill and MGTOW, but we have to ask ourselves, what really is an incel? I've spoken before about the difference between, say, like a location cell and a true cell. And even though I'm an older guy and I don't date at all, I feel that if I actually was in the dating market here in the Brisbane Gold Coast area right now, I would be considered a type of, you could say, a location cell, and probably all I could attract is, you could say, an Asian single mother around 40, early 40s. And if some people think that makes me an inferior man or a loser, well, so be it. I'm an older guy, I've been married, I've had girlfriends, I've been in relationships. The last relationship I had, the last girlfriend I had, was in 2015, and that was a Chinese lady from Chengdu in Sichuan province, and she was 40 years old, very beautiful, and had a very nice figure. And I've had a few other Asian girlfriends. I've always been attracted to Asian women. I've only ever had one white Australian girlfriend before. But one thing I think nowadays in 2024 that people don't seem to have spoken about is the brutality of the dating market, and how the dating market is now hyper competitive for men. And that's especially if you are in a large urban area, say Sydney, LA, San Francisco, Vancouver, Seattle. These types of places are very brutal for young men. You could say young normies, blue-pilled men who still want to find a girlfriend or find a wife. If that's what you want to do, it becomes very difficult. It's very brutal for these young guys. So that's one aspect that I feel has not been talked about very much. So if you're an average Western man, or you could even be quite above average. If a woman has idiotic, unrealistic expectations, requirements, conditions, how is that the man's fault if he gets sent his own way? And it's not just in the West. You may have noticed there is a large anti-simping movement developing in China and South Korea, and a lot of men have just had enough. They've given up, they've stopped dating, and these might be guys who wanted to find a serious girlfriend, they wanted to marry, they wanted to have kids, but they're just deciding that it's just not worth it. And I feel a lot of men in the West, in places like the USA and Australia, they just feel the same sort of way. And like Dan said in his video, these sorts of men who really are MSTOW, just say they are true cell type incels, are they really missing out on so much anyway? Maybe they're missing out on false allegations, false accusations, and Dan talked about pregnancy. If you get a woman pregnant nowadays, that can be very problematic. If you get a single mother pregnant, that can be a total disaster, a personal disaster in your life. So I know I only make fairly simple videos, but I try and warn the younger men of the dangers and the consequences of your actions. So don't just think getting into a so-called romantic relationship with a woman is no big deal now. It can be very problematic for you and can even be extremely dangerous in some cases. So men have to really be on their guard and really be careful. And like Dan said, I feel this type of shaming language, men calling each other names and saying, oh, I've had more success with women than you, I've got more money than you, I'm more financially successful. It's not helpful, and it's just very detrimental to men in our community. We should try and give each other decent advice and help each other out, and especially the older guys, I feel, have an obligation, responsibility to try and warn the younger men of what can happen. I think that in the case of some normies who know about incels or know about the term incel, they have a very stereotypical view of incels. Maybe they've heard about Elliot Rodger, and they might think, oh, all of us type of red pill guys, or we must be incels, and we're going around throwing lattes and cappuccinos on people at bus stops. That's I find that quite amusing. It's quite laughable, but I feel some people really think this way, and most of us guys, I feel, are fairly reasonable when we're out and about. You know, we might be very polite to most people, and we're not violent or aggressive. So a lot of people just get the wrong idea. But if I think a woman deserves criticism, I'm going to criticize her, and that's not misogyny. It's just pointing out certain types of behavior that women are engaging in and calling it out, and that's what should be done. It's just like when certain races of people might get legitimately criticized, they will just say, oh, it's racism. That's a technique that has been used in places like the USA, Australia, UK, and it is a technique that has been used to great effectiveness, I feel. But I think we should just call a spade and not stuff around. We should be straight shooters, so to speak. That's about all, guys, but try and check out Dan's video. I'm going to leave a comment in regard to his video a bit later. That's all for now. I hope to talk to you again soon. Cheers.